everyone, and welcome back to a very exciting episode of Coffee and Wrestling, a wrestling podcast with your hosts, Jamie and Mark. And boy, has it been a very exciting week for wrestling.
A short one,
all
but an
things
exciting
wrestling
one.
Matches. I don't know about you. We didn't really plan on where to start, but surprisingly, I'd like to start off with the DIY versus Creed Brothers match.
Okay. You're just jumping right into WWE?
I'm just going to jump right into WWE.
Okay.
The tag team matches, and we kind of talked a little bit about this personally.
This is for the six-pack. This was a qualifier for the six-pack match at WrestleMania.
Correct. It's a little bit confusing. We had to go over the logistics of this.
I haven't fully understood who's in and who's still in contention until, 25 minutes ago?
If that, yeah.
When you had to, dumb it down for me like I was a 15-year-old child and, really needed to explain things.
So basically, we're about 2 weeks away from WrestleMania,
Not
and we still have...
Not that I don't understand how this whole tournament thing works. I just didn't understand who was in, who was out, what matches were and were not a qualifier match.
It's a little bit confusing because they have some matches, which if you could pull that up, that would be great. We could figure out who's qualified so far. But they still have two matches that I believe are happening on SmackDown this week. Between Austin Theory and Grayson Waller versus the Street Profits. Also, the New Catch Republic is taking on Legado del Fantasma, which I have a feeling is going to be a really underrated yet super great match.
I love how, other than the Street Profits, Austin and Theory have been together probably the longest, and they have just not come up with a name for them yet.
Which is okay. I hope it doesn't stick for too long. I feel like they just have Austin Theory on the roster.
Are we going on a year of these two being buddy-buddy?
Has it been that long already?
I feel like it has been.
Kind of stale, but
one
of those
Austin
things,
Theory's been stale ever since
Vince left.
McMahon's
he was
been
obviously
out of the
Vince's
picture.
boy, clearly.
But yeah, I feel like they did the same thing with Grayson Waller. He showed up, they didn't really know what to do with him. They kind of attached him to the other annoying kid that's on the roster.
Yeah,
and they're just doing annoying kid stuff, taking the spots of people that probably should have, Authors of Pain. I feel like should have really won that match.
It would have been a lot of good forward momentum for them, but no, for some reason, Austin Theory and Grayson Waller win.
Especially since you've had Karrion Kross and that whole, I don't even know what their new faction name is anymore. That's what I mean. They've been so little on TV. The Last Testament, thank you. They've been so little on TV. They've won almost no matches. Everything they're in. Karrion Kross is that's in his entire career where he builds up to this I'm going to get you moment and it doesn't come through.
Nothing really happens, which is unfortunate.
So, I don't know. Austin Theory and Grayson Waller always rub me the wrong way, and I think it's supposed to, but I think it's
understandable.
It rubs me the wrong way in the fact that nobody wants to see these guys do what they want to do. But Karrion Kross, when he comes out, people love him when he comes out. He's got a following. They could
just keep sticking him with other people for some reason.
Yeah, but then back to your original point, you had the Creed brothers came out to go up against DIY. The great performance by these guys.
It was absolutely incredible.
I've really grown to like the Creeds. They pushed them really well since they've gotten into the main roster.
Yeah.
They had a good couple of wins, and then they kind of just weren't on TV for a while. So I think, it's one of those, it's just an introduction to this tag team, and eventually we're going to do something with them. DIY ended up getting the win, but, both teams looked really good.
I wish they both could have advanced. It's unfortunate because really, I think in my eyes, and I think in a lot of people's eyes, the Creed brothers outshined DIY.
Oh, 100%.
And they just stole the ending, and was able to advance.
Numerous athletic performances of feats of strength. They really went out there, and you can tell that they know the position that they're in. They're at the bottom rung of the ladder of just the hierarchy of
professional wrestling. But when it comes to their, non-professional wrestling careers, they're actually very talented, the Creed brothers.
Right. But they're really taking what they know from what you're talking about with their Olympic-style wrestling and applying the intensity to what they're doing in ring in front of the cameras because, again, they understand they're on the lowest rung and they
got
need
something
to prove themselves, and they're doing that. Every time they go out there, like I said, they had those good couple of wins, and they had a hell of a showing against DIY.
The crowd seemed actually pretty bummed that DIY won, which shows you
which is insane because
how good they did.
Because the pop they got when their music hit and they walked out for this tag match, it was huge. It really, and even the graphics, the way they've got that split up where they got Ciampa's and Gargano's
I love it.
graphics left and right, and one's blue, one's red, player 1, player 2. It really is a good left and right dynamic.
Very uniform.
And the crowd really gets into it. So it was surprising to see exactly what you're talking about. Not that they didn't love the fact that DIY got the win. The crowd did enjoy it, but there was at a time during the match where more people were cheering for the Creed brothers.
I think multiple times people thought that they actually were going to win it and didn't. Almost like I said, like DIY stole it from them. So good on the Creed brothers for putting on such a great performance.
Well, whether they stole it or not, DIY will join the other tag teams, Judgment Day, Awesome Truth, and the New Day, as well as the winners of SmackDown's matches. And before we move on to the next one, Jamie, I got to ask you, who do you think is going to win out of those matches this week on SmackDown?
I mean, it feels pretty obvious to me that the Street Profits and New Catch Republic are going forward to WrestleMania.
Especially since Legado del Fantasma, not that Angel and Berto are involved in the LWO angle, but at the same time, they have that going on, so I could see that as well. And I got to agree with you. I don't think Austin Theory and Grayson Waller going over to the Street Profits is very smart, since you're trying to really push this Bobby Lashley,
of course,
new
that faction with them,
Hurt Business.
But let's also be real. This is a contendership to go to WrestleMania.
Right.
This is a 6-pack ladder match.
Right. This is going to be an interesting match.
Who's going to be one of the best people to put on the best performance that always, when a situation in a big match like this has the most replayed, spots? Not Angelo Dawkins. Montez Ford.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So you have to put him in this. When he was in that cage match and he climbed to the top and he jumped off. I can't even remember what pay-per-view that was. But he always has that opportunity. Montez Ford, always goes out there and gives it. He catches
the camera that one time.
Legitimately, I don't know how he gives it 200%.
Well, it was what was it? SmackDown. They came out and they had, and I don't even remember I'm getting so confused. They were leaving the ring, and he grabs the camera and he's shaking it, and he makes it the entire shot's about him. He pulls himself in. He's always really good to be able to catch that angle and be that outlandish moment. So you always have that look what Montez Ford yelled at the top of his lungs with a pizza in his hand.
Exactly.
Standing on the announcer's table.
Yeah.
Having a laugh with Pat McAfee.
I still make jokes about getting that dog in you.
It's just
he has those moments that are just rememberable. So perfect for a ladder match.
And I mean,
Street Profits have to be a part of it.
You're going to need that in a 12 individual ladder match,
right?
I know this is 6 tag teams, but it's 12. Only one person's going to be able to climb that ladder, and get those belts. Supposedly,
multiple people will probably be on the ladder at the same time. Let's be real, but.
I mean, but you're gonna need those times where your focus is on one or two individuals, and Montez Ford would fit perfectly in that. Same thing with New Catch Republic. They have that intensity. They have the capability. They're not afraid to fly. They're not afraid to get knocked down real hard.
Exactly.
They have something
those
to
spots
prove.
As well.
So even if they don't win at WrestleMania, having them have this spot, they're newly quote unquote main event developed, or not main event, but main roster developed tag team. They've got history before this, but if you haven't paid attention to that, we haven't, you don't know anything about it. So this gives you an opportunity to have a newer tag team that's been brought into the fold, really kind of get more notoriety come that match. I mean, you've already got Judgment Day, Awesome Truth, and the New Day in there, and same thing with DIY applies. They have history before this, and they're going to
still have something to prove, though.
They're going to have the huge capabilities of getting over just with this one match.
Right. I actually heard something about Pete Dunne that he was producing some matches. I think it was for the house shows that they've been doing recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah, producing a couple of the matches. So good for Hunter for listening and understanding that there's a reason why you have these people there, and these people know what they're doing. So when
they might know what they're talking about.
Yeah, you might know what they're talking about.
Professional wrestling.
Yeah, so I'm actually really looking forward to this ladder match.
WrestleMania, we also have Io Sky will be defending her championship against Bayley, but beyond that storyline, beyond the damage control storyline, which, by the way, what's up with the women's tag titles at WrestleMania? Are we not defending them? They haven't had any,
no competition.
I mean, the only women's tag team you've really been promoting is Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell, but I think that's just to turn Candice LeRae heel, which God, I love it. It's so good. But beyond the storyline with the championship, Bayley has kind of brought Naomi into the fold as an ally to be like, hey, I could really use help getting,
sure,
to damage control because they suck. But then you have Bianca, who's a good friend of Naomi, kind of being I guess the devil's advocate or whatever. I don't know what the term is, but she's kind of saying no. Bayley's been a complete bitch for 2 years.
Yeah, this whole time.
Just because she's been kicked out of her group,
right,
doesn't mean
we're supposed to be friends with her.
Yeah, we're all of a sudden supposed to help her and defend her honor. And I can kind of
both have a point.
Both of them have a point. I do like the way that this is going because now you have especially after this past week, you had Bayley was attacked backstage because while Naomi was waiting in the ring for her match
against Io,
and it's kind of like throwing, well, where do your alliances lie, and is Bianca being too much about this? I mean, she is a face, so you think she's like, okay, well, she's figured out the errors of her ways, so let's all give Bayley a hand.
Right, but she's not being that way.
Definitely exhibiting some heelish tendencies,
right.
And I'm starting to hope that maybe this is the final, turn of Bianca into a heel. They've been talking about Montez Ford. We were talking about him earlier. Talking about him turning him heel a couple months ago. I would love to see a power couple turn heel and run amok in WWE post WrestleMania.
I think it's a hesitation on WWE's part to turn somebody who is such a big fan in the children's eyes in WWE into a heel.
Syndrome.
Exactly,
it's John Cena syndrome. You don't want to cash out your cash cow.
Yeah, because when you think about kids and inspiration to young girls,
right?
Bianca Belair is that person right now. So you turn her into a heel, it makes things difficult. But what you do, I got it. You're turning Bayley face again. She's the next face.
But that's what you did with Bayley 2 years ago.
Yep.
You turned the beacon of hope for little girls. Hugs all around.
Right.
Smiles and bright colors and wacky inflatable tube men.
Right.
Everything's so fun and fucking dandy.
Yep.
Until it's not. And
exactly.
you turn this beacon of hope to this brooding, Karen-like bitch. And it works so well with Bayley.
Bayley's incredible.
Why wouldn't it work?
Exactly.
With
and you do a full 180, and now you've got Bianca as a heel and Bayley as the face of the women's division.
And now you have Naomi torn between her friend that is face and her friend that is not face. And
I actually would love to see Naomi as a heel.
I'm hoping that this is going to continue and build into using Naomi a little bit more. Because it felt like when she first came back, they're like, oh, it's just the Impact girl. We're going to, we just got her back because we're trying to save
Throw
face
her in the Rumble.
Throw her in the Rumble, let her get some losses. But now they're embroiling her into a storyline that I could really get my teeth into. I really have been enjoying this, like little bits that we've been seeing every week.
Yeah, Bayley's got multiple storylines going at the same time.
Yeah, I mean,
great.
They haven't even really put a lot of focus on the title match at this point.
No.
Which is a shame. I don't know if they're doing it intentionally, if they're just trying to, just bide their time until Mania. I hope not.
It seems like they're trying to make us all think that Bayley has absolutely no way of winning this match.
No way, no friends, especially after Dakota turned her back on her.
Exactly. That's why everybody got attacked in the ring. That's why Naomi's maybe not going to be on her side anymore. Bianca's not. Teasing the idea.
She has valid points for everything she says.
Yeah.
If somebody did me wrong for 2 straight years, and then I saw them outside in the public, and they said, "Hey, man, I've been a dick for the past 2 years." Like, yeah, but you're still a dick. You've ruined my life for 2 years.
You've got a lot to prove.
You can't just walk up to me and say, "Hey, I'm sorry. By the way, can you help me with my championship match?"
Right?
No.
Right.
You cost me mine numerous times.
Exactly. So I think they're trying to make us think that there's no way of that happening, giving us that ultimate WrestleMania moment for Bayley, who just so deserves it.
Yes.
That win.
Yep, she is one of the ones that has not had that WrestleMania moment.
No.
I believe she's won a tag titles at WrestleMania.
Yeah,
but never
she's come in as the champion.
I don't think she's ever had a singles match in WrestleMania, let alone won a championship.
Right.
A singles championship.
The only thing I could think of, is there was like a 4-way with Bayley as the champion,
but never
she didn't win it.
Never a singles. And she never won it.
Not that I could think of.
So, this may be her unicorn. This may be her WrestleMania. And I'm here for it. Like, I have loved, I wasn't a big Bayley fan when she first came to the main roster, but it was that, it just didn't apply to me. The like we were talking about earlier, the big hugger, the everything's all bright colors and smiles.
Sure, and not watching NXT program, it's different. You don't understand it. You have to buy into it. And now that it's gone, it's like you can buy into it again. Like I totally see they've put the little bit of the writing on the wall with her like attempting to hug some of the girls in Damage Control and them not like, wanting to. Like there's little teases of it coming back. So I think this is definitely the time.
I swear, if you go back a few episodes, or actually probably like 10 episodes at this point, we talked about that. We brought that up of her. They all kind of hugged, and she was more elated about being hugging than she expected, and you almost had like a look of like, ooh, that felt too good. Like,
yeah, exactly. Tone it down, Bayley.
So it's I've really like been hoping this was going to happen. And of course, WrestleMania is WrestleMania. Who knows what could happen?
Of course.
You know what I mean?
The grandest stage of them all.
And it's not just that, but it's also like some people's like worst moments happened at WrestleMania.
Sure.
I mean, was it Daniel Bryan, I think, had a title for 17 seconds and Sheamus won it, or it was vice versa. It was something, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was either Sheamus or Bryan Danielson.
It's a legendary moment opportunity, whether it be good, bad, you know, indifferent for the other person.
Chelsea Green's the shortest
Royal Rumble
length of time in the Royal Rumble, like, which is kind of cool. Like it's one of those like I hold a record that nobody else holds in WWE, but it's like you lasted the least amount of time. You know what I mean?
You're still talking about me, you know?
And if we're going to talk about things that could possibly happen at WrestleMania, because it's WrestleMania night, anything's a go there. We've got The Rock, Roman, Cody Rhodes, this whole like trio of Cody's going against the two bad bosses of WWE, between your number one performer and now I guess your one
side chick.
Yeah, your number one board member. He addressed The Rock's comments on Monday. He also had a face-to-face
promo
with Roman Reigns on Friday. It just felt like, okay, we've now addressed everything. We'll probably see The Rock. It felt like The Rock wasn't present this week, so we'll probably see him next week on SmackDown or Raw. Hopefully not singing another song.
Yeah.
It all felt like pretty standard, pretty run-of-the-mill. Cody has to have that response. He got a couple of good one-liners.
He did.
You know, he said, you know, he called him an asshole. He called him
a little dick syndrome.
Somebody ran the similarities between this promo and a promo that Cody Rhodes cut on Chris Jericho years ago in AEW. And some
similarities.
It does feel like, you know, he's using his catchphrases. He's got a standard set of things that are
understandable.
Sting. Didn't really do a lot for me. Like, it got me excited for the matches. Like, I think the ending scene where you had Jay, Seth, and Cody in ring, and then you had Roman, you know, and all Solo and Jimmy.
I liked that. I liked the
separating
ending.
their ways, but there's still kind of a question of, you know, people's where they lie in this whole field of the bloodline with
on both
Seth
sides,
Rollins and,
you know.
So I mean, it got me hyped for like, you know, the matches are coming up, but it really didn't feel, for me personally, it didn't feel like it pushed the storyline much more.
No.
But at the same stroke of that, I don't know how much more out of the storyline you can push. I feel like we've gotten to that point. We're just waiting for the match.
We're so close. It's just a couple of weeks away at this point, and it's weird. It really doesn't feel like WrestleMania season to me. Like, I know we're talking about it. We've got some great matches, and I'm not saying the matches aren't, you know, a fantastic quality, but it's a weird WrestleMania this year. I don't know if it's the forward progression or if it's because Vince isn't a part of it. They're just not shoving it down our throats.
I think that's what it has a lot to do with it, is that this is the first, you know, the first time that WWE's really had to step out on its own.
Sure.
Not under the guise of Vince McMahon. Not that Vince McMahon is a genius in every aspect and everything he ever did was perfect, but it seemed like Vince McMahon was just ideas left, right, and center, good, bad, or indifferent, and would constantly stick to things because he believed it worked, and honestly, more times than not, it ended up working, so I can understand it. So it does feel like a different WWE. It feels
the hype isn't there, you know, the most stupendous, you know, it's I mean, almost canned lines when they do WrestleMania because they're trying so hard to get you excited for it, so it kind of feels like it's not that time, you know?
Right. Yeah, I just... this always happens the few weeks prior to a pay-per-view or premium live event, to where matches are kind of coming to a close. The back and forth between the two, or however many individuals,
right.
Everything's been said.
How many face-to-faces can you have?
And I feel with Cody, like everything we've said between him and Roman has already been said. Now,
Roman just is calling him stupid now. Like, what are we doing?
And that's all. That's his motif. That's what he does on promos. He uses these meaning words to these individuals to try to make them lesser than him.
Yeah.
But I think we've reached our peak with the Bloodline Cody storyline.
Agreed.
A year ago.
Yeah. So trying to rekindle, it's been tough.
We've got The Rock in there. He adds a little bit of an element to it, but we kind of have a separate Bloodline storyline involving the four of them as opposed to just Cody and Roman.
Right.
And I feel like the Cody and Roman thing is just, we've said everything we need to say.
Yeah.
Now it's just, we're repeating everything, except now it's a comma again, because it's the second time this
Exactly.
Other than Cody Rhodes vanquishing all of his foes from WrestleMania until now, there really hasn't been anything bloodline wise.
No.
So I think everything's been said. No. Everything's been done. We're just waiting for the match, and now we've got two more or another episode before WrestleMania, and it's just like, I'm just ready for it. I'm done with the Cody and Roman back and forth. The Rock and Cody doesn't do anything for me.
Yep.
It's just The Rock's not hitting on that nostalgic heel heat that he used to have way back when, because it just feels old and played out, like somebody's walking and doing it just to do it.
Yeah, if you're going to do all this too, why not? Hasn't there been any like Seth and Roman confrontation or anything like that? They're focusing so much on Cody. Right.
And again, we've talked about when they came up with this championship to kind of replace the missing one, because Roman doesn't feel like showing up to work all the time. It always felt like the secondary or the complementary championship, and now I feel like it's even more so, because even Seth Rollins is taking second seat to this championship match. I'm stepping in, even though I have my own match I have to worry about the next day.
Oh, that's not night one's main event, as far as we know.
I'm stepping in, and I'm helping you and putting myself at risk.
Sure.
Because I want you to win that title, the most prestigious title. Like,
sure.
It just feels like it's the secondary title helping the big guy.
Absolutely.
Trying to get the win.
And this is a guy that's just coming back from injury, Seth Rollins, who's just being cleared, who's coming in to step in night one of WrestleMania.
Right.
That's how it's looking so far. Night one of WrestleMania to compete in a tag team match against two people that have nothing to do with Seth's story whatsoever, and jeopardizing his opportunity to retain the belt against Drew McIntyre the next day.
And furthermore, him and Cody Rhodes have a history. He was
rival
his first
history.
Match back at WrestleMania.
They're not friends.
That it was his mystery opponent. Like it was. Yeah, they've never been friends. They've had I think a trios of singles matches that made it very, very clear they're not friends with each other.
Yeah.
And now
they're friends?
Because Seth wants Cody to finish his story and get rid of Roman's championship reign.
Right.
Now you're all of a sudden buddy-buddy. And like you said, even though this match is going to put you at a detriment
to possibly losing your own belt.
Yeah, you're defending your title.
Right, because you want to help Cody win his story. What does that have to do with you?
What does Seth gain from any of this?
Yeah, why would you care who has the belt?
If The Rock
should be that perspective. I don't give a shit who has the other belt. I have this belt. This is the most prestigious belt, and just play into that. No, I'm going to help you.
So with that being said, with all of that considered, we saw this online right before we signed on to start recording. What are the chances that Seth Rollins turns on Cody Rhodes during that tag match? Whether he joins the Bloodline or he goes his own separate way. We had talked about if he did go and align himself with the Bloodline, I don't think he would be able to be part of the Bloodline, but a subsidiary of the Bloodline.
Sure, like a Sami Zayn kind of thing.
What are the chances we're seeing a Seth Rollins heel turn at WrestleMania against the biggest babyface that the company has on roster right now?
A part of me almost wants it because it's something that nobody's expecting.
Right.
And if Seth and Cody lose night one, the whole idea is that the Bloodline can't interfere. So why can't Seth Rollins interfere on Cody Rhodes and
on night two?
Roman's match night two?
Right.
He's not a part of the Bloodline.
Right.
Hey, so we still held our end of the deal.
He could still potentially win, but with questionable, motives. And then come night two, he's ringside like, well, wait, are you here to support me or Roman?
Right.
See, and I think that would be an amazing direction for it to go. It would give, if you want, and this would be to extend the Bloodline storyline even more. It's like now Seth Rollins comes in and he's the next thorn in your side.
Yeah, and now he's laughing his ass off like, gotcha, bitch.
If Cody doesn't win, it's absolutely
the people are going to rip the arena apart.
For sure. For sure. I feel like
it's
that's
going to
the
be
question of
heartbreak, literal heartbreak, not
I feel like
storyline.
that's the question that WWE is yet to answer come WrestleMania.
Yeah. What are you willing to put these people through?
Are you willing to give the people what they want?
Right.
Or are you willing to sacrifice Cody Rhodes to the wrestling gods and put Roman over as quite possibly the biggest heel of all time?
That would be huge.
Longest reign.
We got you.
And went all the way as far to the only ally that Cody Rhodes has in WWE right now, at least as it stands today.
Yep.
And has him turn on him.
Exactly.
Takes literally everything away from him.
He has nobody except for Jay.
Story. Takes away all of his... I mean, you never know. Jimmy and Jay have got that match, so something else could happen with them.
Yeah, which is also supposed to be night 2.
You take out, any chance of getting that championship belt again, and you absolutely ruin one of the most prolific, baby faces.
Yep. The bloodline all around just wins.
And the bloodline just absolutely dominates, and you just have this mega conglomerate faction.
Sure. It's more of a story than what you have with Cody winning.
Shield all over again.
Yeah. If you have Cody winning, what in the hell do you do Monday next week? There's nothing
Seth
there.
Seth Rollins going to come out and shake his hand, and
we've got 2 faces running the shows, and all is well.
Now
and
it's Team WWE, champions forever.
Superheroes? I don't know. That doesn't sound like fun.
It feels not WWE enough. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel like there's enough villainy to happening. It doesn't feel like I don't remember a single pay-per-view that has ended and I haven't been like, oh, them bastards, they did that.
Yeah, they're good at it.
And I feel like this is, but saying it again, what do you do if you don't give Cody this win?
I know. What do you do for Cody? Is that where you're getting at?
What do you do for the Codyverse and the Cody crybabies that have been wanting this for so long?
I don't know. And Cody's been walking around saying, if I don't win it this year, then,
don't put me on the game next year. Yeah. Don't do this.
I don't deserve another title shot.
And I got to agree with it. There's no way you're doing this 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
You do this 3 years in a row, and the interest is going to be so thin.
Who gives a shit? Can you really keep this going for another year? I don't know.
I mean, we said the same thing last year.
Right. But by this time now, it's a little bit on the stale side for me. I'm not super excited.
Right.
It's not like the times when Sami Zayn were in it and the Bloodline was on and we literally would turn it up and be like, shh, Bloodline's on.
I used to live for WWE back then.
You couldn't miss something.
SmackDown
when
was
they came out and talked.
As it has been since it was
since The Rock started it. Exactly. It was a you cannot miss this show.
Oh yeah, 100%.
This week we missed it because we were just playing video games. 100%. We completely missed it because there's nothing there. Us personally, don't get me wrong. I'm not judging you if you're still hooked into it. That's what WWE wants, of course. But there's just nothing there to sink my teeth into with this rivalry between all of them. It's more the outcome of everything rather than what's happening right now, the ending to the story.
All right, one last thing before we move on to AEW. Just wanted to give some shout-outs. The AJ LA Knight promo they had where LA Knight showed up at his house and assaulted him. With the cops showed up. It was amazing.
Body cam footage.
Absolutely love that. And very reminiscent of Stone Cold Steve Austin, Brian Pillman, the 90s Attitude Era. They even kept it to where it didn't feel like there was any actual WWE cameras there. It was all security footage and body cams. That was real nice. Also, the Nia Jax and Becky Lynch last woman standing match. Don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but it was just a really well put together match between two stars that I just don't really like going one another. I don't like the whole rivalry thing they've been doing for the past couple of weeks with the whole broken nose and I've got to beat you.
Sure, it's the same thing over and over, but this was actually really good. Made me super excited for the match with Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley that's coming up at WrestleMania.
Both put on a great match. Some of the spots were almost, you'd see them on AEW. There was a hell of a leg drop.
Becky's a nut.
I really thought Nia could have hurt herself severely. But just wanted to shout those out. But if we're going to talk about women's wrestlers, we got Mercedes Moné came back to AEW, and she's already got her eyes set on somebody that she's got history with here in AEW. Came out.
My girl.
Came out to went backstage to confront Willow Nightingale and really kind of give her the cold shoulder. So are we going to see the first program that Mercedes is going to be involved in is with Willow getting that redemption match after she broke her ankle?
I mean, that would make the most sense. That's the perfect storyline to go with right off rip, because you already have that with people are familiar in AEW with that match and Willow holding the title because we saw her defend it quite a few times on AEW.
NJPW Strong Women's
the
Champion.
Belt that was made for
Yes.
Mercedes Moné that Willow held onto for a while. So I think that would be great to run that back for sure. She helped defend her at first, but then said it was one of those things like, well, I want to get my hands on her first. So I only helped her because I didn't want anybody else to touch her.
Not just that, she helped her, and then as she turned around, Willow had that chair and with a real nasty look on her face.
I don't blame her. I mean,
why? It's not like she did anything wrong. She was just wrestling a match and her ankle broke. It's not her problem.
For sure.
Mercedes, a fragile little girl.
No, but Willow's got to watch her back, man. Mercedes obviously pissed off.
She's got to watch her attitude. You can't just be walking up to people with a chair like that.
Hey, she didn't hit her.
I'm not saying Mercedes reacted incorrectly. I'm just saying, you're going to get your mouth kicked in if you walk up to me a chair like that.
No, for sure.
But I'm just excited to see that because it was one of those when we heard Willow was announced for that match, we were super excited. We've fallen in love with Willow's wrestling since she's been featured more in AEW. She was in AEW Dark for a while.
We had to see her a few times in ROH.
So when she was announced for this match, it was like, oh, this is great. This is a great opportunity. And both of us, of course, thought well, there's no way they're going to give it to Willow because obviously this belt was for Mercedes because she's a big name. They want to put a championship belt
Absolutely. But would hopefully put Willow over in some degree so that she could be put on the map. But nobody could have expected what the outcome would have been. The match was great.
Jumped off the rope, ends up hurting her ankle. And, they made a split decision in the ring. And Willow ends up winning. So, I mean, it's got great legs to it.
Sure.
I just hope that Tony Khan does it right and doesn't make Willow look bad.
Right.
Because I know Mercedes is a big name. I know Mercedes is a big moneymaker. And they're very excited to have her there. But I would just hate to see one of their homegrown talents get nerfed just because
they're trying to put Mercedes over.
Talent has showed up, and they have this little bit of history, and it's the only history she's had. It just would be unfortunate.
Mm-hmm. Another great rivalry that is going on in AEW between the women's division is everything with Toni Storm and Deonna Purrazzo. Now we have Thunder Rosa and Mariah May being thrown into the entire mix.
Right, Thunder Rosa making her return finally.
Yes, which I know you were a little bit apprehensive about. She obviously has had a bad rep with, it coming out that she has a little bit of beef with the other women in AEW.
Which supposedly was squashed a year ago.
Britt Baker came out and said that, it's all been kind of pushed off to the side. It's all good. So this is kind of an opportunity for her to come back, redeem herself a little bit, and an interesting turn of events. She actually ended up pinning Toni Storm.
Yep, they had a tag team match. Her and Deonna Purrazzo were wrestling Toni and Mariah May. And Thunder Rosa was able to get the cheeky pin on her. I don't think it was much more than that, but it really didn't sit well with Deonna,
which I really liked. I didn't think of that perspective of Thunder Rosa especially getting the pin and it pissing Deonna off. Because
especially since Thunder Rosa has been very, very vocal about she never lost that title; she had to give it up.
Right.
So she's put her in the same category as everybody else that's had to give up that title with
without actually having to defend it. You just have to walk away from it. Right.
It kind of put a cool little dynamic. So now you can stretch this out. Deonna and Thunder are going to have beef with each other. And then, you still got Mariah May and Toni Storm. There's that little bit of story too. Little bit of doubt in there that these two are going to work out 100% because eventually somebody's going to get too big for their britches.
Of course, but I really loved them tagging up this week. They were both fantastic. It was like one of the first times it felt like there was a cohesive enough team that the women's tag team division could actually happen and have somebody like the two of them working together.
Which the AEW needs a women's tag team division.
Yeah, it's tough because you have to build that up now.
Wrestling needs a women's tag team division. There is nothing going on in women's tag team.
It's unfortunate because you've got the Kabuki Warriors on the other side, and you and I talked about this off air, but they're not doing anything with them.
Right.
They have no competition right now. Asuka and Kairi Sane, and I think most of our eyes, the people that listen to the podcast and pay attention to all of wrestling, understand that neither of them need to be in a tag team together.
Right.
And it's not doing anything for the women's tag division to have the Kabuki Warriors there, not have a rivalry, not defend it. It's weird.
Yeah,
it's very
definitely
stale. I don't understand what's happening there.
Well, I think one of the problems is you don't have a lot of established women's tag teams in WWE right now. The Kabuki Warriors are the only ones that are there. I mean, even Chelsea Green and every tag partner she's had, you know, that were champions.
I want to say Piper's hurt.
Piper's hurt. Raquel Rodriguez is hurt. I mean, it's the cursed titles. So I mean, what do you do with that's another problem they have is what do you do with them? It's not that the Kabuki Warriors don't deserve gold around their waist as individuals or even a tag team. It's just where else are you going to put these belts? I mean, you're going to put them on Caden Carter and Katana Chance, and then who are they going to wrestle against? The Kabuki Warriors.
I know, right?
Like, it's such a difficult position.
Isn't there.
I mean, it makes sense that at least they're on Damage Control. They're out in the open. They celebrate that they are the tag team champions. Like, it's just unfortunate that there's nothing else they can do with those belts right now. They're just in a spot that they don't have enough established tag teams. We talked about it earlier. The only established tag team that they have in WWE that isn't the champion is Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell, and even then, it's like that's remnants of an NXT tag team, and they're obviously on the outs. You have Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark, who again,
I like them. I think they're great.
Of them that don't need to be in a tag team.
Exactly,
together.
They don't.
You know,
you've got the two girls that they brought up, Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. What in the hell have they done with them?
They're completely missing. They've been used every once in a blue moon. They do a
spoopy promo, and then nothing happens. Like, why?
And then
you have such a missed opportunity there.
And AEW plays of the same thing. They don't have. They have the House of Black Girls. They have now Willow and Chris Statlander.
Right.
That's about all I can really think of.
Forever it was just Emi Sakura and add somebody, you know.
You got the two twins. I can't remember their names. The Renegade Twins. You know, they've got them, but they're not exactly hot right now. Like there's very few women's tag teams that are established that could hold the tag title belt.
Right. Start that now.
I know, but it's a lot for them to build up because you've got to get these stars up, and you know they're trying to get their singles division up, and once you get your singles division up, you can't take all of your singles stars and put them in a tag team.
You can't do both at the same time.
It's a very difficult slope that both WWE and AEW are on.
But you've got ROH promotion that's intertwined with AEW, and you've got NXT that's with WWE. Like, this is a great opportunity to bring up your talent. You don't have anybody. You took away the NXT women's tag team champions completely away. There's got to be two people in there that you can throw into the mix to give them an opportunity, kind of like the Creed brothers have, although they're signed up to the bigger roster, but show them off.
Right.
You know, hopefully there's somebody else. There's got to be new talent, and if there's not, I mean, Sean, what are you doing? Right. Go out there and find some women talent that works well together that can tag, you know? All right, we've said a couple of negative things. Let's be the coffee and wrestling podcast that we are.
Back to the caffeinated
Let's talk
positivity.
The caffeinated positivity. Now, I have not seen a lot of conversation about this at all. I don't know if this was a fever dream that Mark and I had and it just didn't get out to anybody else, but Adam Copeland and Christian Cage put on one of the most exciting, like literally standing, like so excited to see this match on Dynamite this week. Adam was able to, again, which is so crazy. I totally forgot.
Regain the TNT
championship.
After only holding it for like 15 seconds.
Previously from Christian Cage. It was like reminiscent of wrestling, but also a hockey game at the same time. Yes. There was a penalty box. Shout out to Adam Copeland for throwing a Bruins jersey on a Christian.
And if you don't know, it felt especially special for me because I'm a diehard Bruins fan. Go black and gold. Fuck the Toronto Maple Leafs, and he is a Maple Leafs fan. They are part of the original 6 hockey teams that started back in the early 1900s. So there's a rivalry which was fun. They played into any other rivalry that's ever existed in hockey. So to have that little detail to where Adam Copeland puts somebody in the crowd with a Bruins jersey just so he could take it off that guy, put it on Christian, and have them literally have a hockey fight while
in a penalty box.
Adam Copeland has a Toronto Maple Leafs. Like it was,
we were geeking. It was awesome.
I was on my feet yelling, in just having the best damn time of my life. I didn't expect this to be anything. Like, it was an I Quit match. I expected to see over the top. He brought out Spike. I'm sure we were going to see
Spike
tables.
was utilized really well, too, I do want to say.
Well, I mean, you know, when you talk to Mama Foley's baby boy, you know, you're going to get some good tips.
Of course.
But I really, like, the way that they shot this match was just phenomenal. They thought about the spots that they were going to do. They
did it the way that they wanted to do it.
It was overly violent, but not in the sense where Nick Gage is coming out with a pizza cutter cutting Chris Jericho's head open during a Domino's commercial. It was just
that was funny.
It really was that late 90s, early 2000s like
what you remember them
violence,
for, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't front flips into plate glass. It wasn't, getting thrown out of a building. It wasn't, fire. It wasn't this. It was just good old
Canadian street fight.
WWF hardcore match.
Yeah.
That just also had a stipulation where the other guy had to quit.
Exactly.
And you're right. I think they did a great job with Spike. They didn't overuse it.
No.
They didn't have it to where the one time he used it is he took a swing, he got stuck in the turnbuckle, and then you never use it again.
Which was my worry, that they were going to hype up this awesome weapon that he was going to use, and something stupid happened and they never really use it.
Right, which is always a trope in wrestling.
Very effective, surprisingly, which was great too.
So it was just a really good. I
didn't think he was going to get it to the crotch.
Like Jamie had said, it just didn't feel like I haven't seen anything good, bad, or indifferent about that match. I haven't seen.
So weird.
Perusing all the wrestling news websites, you always see it's the top ones of these. It's the best things and the worst things. It's the ups and the downs. It's and I've yet to see anything positive or negative about.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Which I think is a good thing. I really think it's a good thing because that means there wasn't enough voice to complain about the match.
Right.
But there wasn't enough voice of people that were putting over this match strictly because it has two childhood heroes of people.
Right.
And I feel like matches like these are victim of that, to where you have Edge and Christian in a singles match in 2024.
Right.
And there's going to be fanboys and fangirls that literally say this is the best match that ever happened.
Just because they stepped foot in the ring together.
They ever did. And, if there's also people said this is the worst thing that they've ever done. I can't believe they've stooped to these levels. And there was not much of that. And it just made me feel good about it because it was a really great match and it didn't deserve 7-star accolades.
No, but it was fun and nostalgic. And again, if you're a hockey fan, Shinfo, go Lightning. It felt good. It felt good. It was really fun, and it didn't feel like a Dynamite match.
No,
it feels
didn't.
like something that happened at a big scale.
And we had talked about this
like
last week too, that they are putting on these pay-per-view quality matches because they need you to start watching the weekly program,
right?
Because it's going to move to a streaming service. Because it's going to be one of those things that your $9.99 is going to be everything to AEW, WWE, TNA, GCW, every promotion on those that has a streaming service already.
And Bryan Danielson came out and said the reason that we think we're retaining people watching AEW programming is because we're consistently putting out those type of matches on a weekly basis. I mean, if you haven't seen what's coming up in AEW Dynamite this week, stay tuned because we're getting ready to go over that. But the weekly content is just absolutely insane. I love the WWE programming. It's very exciting right now. But when Shibata is going to be on Dynamite,
it's a must tune in.
Holy shit, this is crazy.
If we're going to talk about the good, and I know we just talked about getting back to the good, I got to bring up the bad.
Oh, no. What was bad?
Our boy Eddie Kingston lost the Continental Championship this week.
It was a sad moment.
I mean, it is, but you can't be that sad about who he lost it to.
Well, I mean, could anybody be surprised that Kazuchika Okada walked in, was there for 2 weeks and then got a belt? People are pissed about it.
Of course they are. They're supposed to be.
Well, yeah, and that's what I was going to say. Don't you realize that the heels doing heel things and you being mad at them is them doing their job correctly?
Maybe
it makes me laugh so hard.
Maybe this is our problem. Maybe we're not realizing that this is how it's supposed to be. People are supposed to hate them, and we're questioning why people are supposed to hate them. No, I love it. I think that them, the Young Bucks and the Elite, leaning into this better than you. And we have the money and we can just tell you that we're better than you because we're your employer, I think is great. I think the idea that Okada coming to AEW and them flaunting the idea of him making so much money and kind of just leaning into that, well, everybody says this about the Young Bucks, so we're just going to be the Young Bucks. You know, we're going to be the EVPs. It just, I love it because I just eat this shit up like it's candy.
You're just feeding into their storyline by what you're writing on Twitter.
Right.
You know, which if you don't follow us on X already, make sure you follow us at CAW Wrestling Pod.
But it just, they just take something that's so natural. And WWE just did this with The Rock and Cody Rhodes. They found out, okay, nobody really wants that match. They'd rather have Cody Rhodes and Roman at WrestleMania, so they just lean into it.
Exactly. You want to hate the Young Bucks? Great. I'm going to give you even more to hate about us.
Right.
Don't call us the Young Bucks. Call us the EVPs.
I'm going to get you to tune in just so you watch me get beat.
Exactly.
I'm going to get you to buy my pay-per-view so that you see me lose, because I had a problem with CM Punk, and I reference it every once in a while.
So, yeah, I can understand why Okada gets the belt, and I'm sad about it.
Tangent, real quick. I don't mean to be tangent. Why is it not okay for anybody in AEW to make light of the CM Punk brawl out bullshit that happened, but then when WWE does it with fucking Drew McIntyre, everybody's like, "Oh, so funny, AEW
what a genius!"
Sucks. Like, I don't understand it. Like, what do you mean? You can have Kenny Omega pretend to get bit on the arm.
That was a stroke of genius.
But when Drew McIntyre references Jungle Boy, I don't get it. Like, why is one okay and why is one
There's
not?
a very big double standard for it, sure. I think it's easy to hate the new guy. You know, it's the new guy at the job site. Of course, it's easy to pick on him. And that's just what's been happening to AEW for years. It's such an easy thing to pick at.
Oh, I thought you were talking about CM Punk.
Well, I mean, CM Punk is easy to pick at, too.
He's really easy
But
to
I
pick
digress.
Up. I digress.
I am very sad to see Eddie Kingston lose the belt. Now, as I understood, and I believe I can speak for all of the AEW fans, I believe we all understood that the Triple Crown Championship involved all three belts, although Eddie has lost the one belt to Okada. It's just the one belt, the Continental Crown Championship.
No, it's just the Continental Champion.
Okay. It just lost the one belt, and Eddie still has the other two.
Right.
So that was confusing because he's defending his belt at the ROH pay-per-view that's coming out.
He's the Ring of Honor World Champion,
Correct.
As well as the NJPW Strong Champion.
Correct.
Right?
So I thought it was all three.
That's what I thought the whole idea of the Continental Classic was he was putting up all three belts.
Right.
Maybe he was just saying he's putting up all three belts during the Continental Classic, and he lost.
We got confused. So
I don't know. I'm so lost.
I don't know. So at least knowing Eddie still has two belts, that's fine.
Eddie two belts, I'm all right with it.
You know, I'm okay with that. And Okada getting one, like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
I think it might have been one of those retroactive, hey, we're going to do this so we can consolidate all this and make it more hype, and then they got done with it, and they're like, maybe we shouldn't have done that, but we don't really have much of a choice. Oh, Okada just wants that belt.
Yeah, we need Okada to have a belt. Sorry, Eddie, we're just going to take one.
You have three. We're just going to take one. Ring of Honor?
I mean...
Or send him back to NJPW, where he just left?
But it would at least made more sense because then he could go defend it in other places and it would justify why he'd go back to Japan.
I feel like you should have had him won all three. He takes the NJPW belt and the ROH World belt, and on the way out, throws them in the trash.
No, he pulled a Nikki Cross.
I mean, he's left NJPW.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you could play that angle like I pissed off at my previous employer.
Sure.
And then looks at the ROH one and goes,
what is this?
And throws it away and just throws the Continental belt over his shoulder, like complete heel.
He could be like, what's Ring of Honor?
And of course, people were like, well, you're diminishing the value of the world title. Like, yes, you're supposed to do that. He's the heel. He's the heel. And then you have a mad scramble for that world title. You give Eddie even more reason to be pissed off at Okada, because not only did he take his Continental
he disrespected the other two.
He disrespected the world title and the NJPW Strong title that Eddie fought for so hard to win.
Right. That he said his mentor had, so he wanted the ROH belt.
Right.
Like he wanted to go to NJPW.
You disrespect my heritage or my
that was his dream, to go there and win that belt, and he did. So for you to throw it in the trash, I mean, how insulting to Eddie would that be? But they didn't go that route.
Should have.
They just took the one belt. So interesting to see what that's going there. But it already looks like he's going to be defending it possibly soon against the returning Pac.
Yes, he came out after that match, and he seems filled with piss and vinegar.
Yeah.
Excited to see what Pac's going to do back on TV. He has got an edge on him.
Ooh,
he is going to leave a lot of blood in that ring.
He always does.
I am so excited for him. His intensity, his
energy,
commitment, his energy. It's so infectious. It's so good.
All around, like, world championship material.
100%. Got to give him something around his belt.
Well, he had the international title for a while, and
Didn't last long enough.
That was fun though, because he actually defended it in all different places. Yeah.
Right. Didn't defend it nearly as much as Sloth King.
Sloth Boy.
Sloth Boy. One last little thing before we sign off for the morning. What in God's name are we doing with Wardlow?
Wardlow lost, that whole group?
Wardlow lost, and now Adam Cole cuts a promo the next week talking to Wardlow through the audience?
Yeah, he's disappointed in him. He should have won the belt to give it to Adam Cole. And then, what's Adam Cole going to do about it? Go fight Wardlow? He can't.
And then I brought this up when he had that promo where he was reading out of the storybook. There was a picture of Wardlow presenting the championship to Adam Cole.
Right.
And then in his promo this past week, he starts talking about, you're not the champion. Like a few weeks when they first established this, he said something about Wardlow was going to get the title and give it to Adam Cole.
Right.
And I don't understand what the fuck we're doing with this. Like, why has it become that Wardlow is going to get the belt and hand it to Adam Cole? What in God's
at this point,
name
why do I care?
Yeah, why do we care? Why are they doing this? Why would Wardlow ever do that? Wardlow has
you could tell he didn't want to, obviously.
He has no connection to these guys other than opening an opportunity to ruin MJF's day.
Right.
And ever since that's been over, like, he's just been this like loser that goes where Adam Cole tells him to go and can't do the job.
Right.
And then it's still supposed to deliver the fucking championship to Adam Cole?
Exactly.
I don't understand what this is.
Well, he didn't have the most over-the-top phenomenal match against Samoa Joe. Mm-hmm. So it didn't really do anything for any of them, if I'm being completely honest.
And they're treating it like he's like the super villain's minion.
Exactly.
That is just hell-bent on getting Adam Cole to the top of whatever it is.
But he's not even out there winning matches. Why would he win the championship?
I don't know. I don't know what we're doing with this. I'm very disillusioned with this, and I don't know why we're treating Wardlow like a second-rate character, like he couldn't carry himself on his own. He had it for the longest time, and now it's just stale and dumb. This whole Undisputed Kingdom, the devil reveal.
Yeah.
Other than it ruining MJF's World Championship run,
that's it.
It's done nothing for AEW.
No,
it was
hasn't.
Huge, 6-9 month payoff.
And ended up being what was awarded the worst gimmick of the year.
It was more interesting trying to figure out who the people were than when it was finally revealed.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Even since then, you think it would come with some traction.
Nothing.
Absolutely
nothing.
I just
Roddy's won the championship, and now what do we do with that?
That's the only thing that's happened positive within this group.
But I just don't see it going in a really positive way that Roddy's going to have some legendary championship run after Orange Cassidy has had 2 of the best championship runs in AEW.
Right.
You're going to follow that up with what?
I don't know. Maybe we'll see a program with him and Kyle O'Reilly because they're not on the same team now.
Good. Please do.
But back to Wardlow.
Please.
This whole Undisputed
I
Kingdom
have nothing
thing is
for
just
Wardlow.
ridiculous.
Who's a future opponent for Wardlow?
Anybody, because everybody's
I got
beating
nobody.
him. He gets beaten at every time he gets to the top level, to the top, he finally gets that championship match, that qualifier match. He does this, he does that, he comes over in insurmountable odds, wins the battle royale, wins the ladder match, and then every single time comes up short.
That's exactly what it is.
I just don't know. I don't want to end the podcast on a negative note, but I'm just so.
I got a couple more things to add to the pod here.
Either shit or get off the pot.
Do something. Just find a solid storyline with Wardlow.
And if you can't, send him to
with
WWE.
an opponent. For real. And it's sad because he's come out in interviews and say I want to retire with AEW. So he's willing to give you the time and the commitment to it.
But they're not willing to give him anything.
Find the story. There's got to be a story there.
He's had a couple of TNT championship runs, but they were very few and far between.
They're
Felt
okay.
like a transitional champion.
They're okay.
He's not had a good career in AEW.
No.
And I just don't know what they're doing with him because the people love him. At least they did at one point.
I think Wardlow's great, and I think he has the potential to be a fantastic leader in AEW. I don't know how to do it. If they can't figure out, I sure as shit don't know what to do.
I need to stop tagging him with people.
You got to stop tagging him with people, and you have to stop winning so many matches.
Stop putting him in groups that use him for other people's goals.
Exactly. It makes him look weak.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, no purpose.
No.
Like, he's just rummaging around, like, walking around aimlessly looking for somebody to help guide him in a direction.
Yeah, it really does look like all he's trying to do is looking for a handout from somebody that can help him get something.
How am I supposed to back that?
But
how am I
even
supposed
then,
to be excited for that?
Anytime some group adopts him into that, they're like, oh, well, do this for us, and then we'll work on with you. But you got to give us whatever you win.
No.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
Well, you thought we were going to be done, but I have one more thing to add.
I better like it.
You're going to love this.
Better like it.
No pressure. You're going to love this.
I'm ending the podcast if I don't like it.
Okay, but I want to end the podcast on a more positive note than just talking about Wardlow's directionless career.
Mm-hmm.
Motor City Machine Guns. They have done some copyrights.
You've already the 4 words you've said. I like it.
Yeah. Motor City.
I'm holding my finger to my hand. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then I don't want to talk to you.
So, obviously, one of, I may be a little bit biased, one of the best tag teams of absolute...
One of the most underrated tag teams of all fucking time.
Like, you sit here and talk about any of these tag teams, they're inspired by
best damn tag teams to ever come out of TNA.
Oh, my God. 2 of the best individual wrestlers, though, too.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they don't even need each other, which is absolutely incredible. I love these guys, but apparently it's being reported all around that their contracts are ending the beginning of April.
Yes.
Just a couple weeks away.
Yes. Not even a couple weeks. It's like the 25th.
Yeah.
We've got less than a week of this month.
Pretty crazy. And this is right back to what we talk about a lot lately is just anything is completely possible. They could be free agents running around doing indies,
which they've done for years. I mean, they're big in GCW. If they are ending, they'll be ending their tenure in TNA, which they've had numerous tag team championships as well as individual championships in TNA.
Exactly.
Chris Sabin was in NXT with Kushida for the Time Splitters for a while. Alex Shelley has gone to Japan for many years.
He's a real estate agent.
He is, yeah.
A little bit of shinfo if you didn't know that.
I'd be a little bit biased if Alex Shelley showed up.
Oh my God, could you imagine? Or James Storm. James Storm is also a real estate agent. Yeah. Alex Shelley got into it because he said there was just some times where, you're going out there and trying to wrestle and you can't make a whole lot of money. So was like, I need a backup plan. Smart guy. Smart guy. But
they will become free agents. They've also worked in AEW for a little bit. They're both big in ROH. God, the sky's the limit where these guys could go. GCW, MLW, NCAA, MLB, ABCD, EFG.
I mean, God, they could go to Mexico. Like, their styles just work, and they're like permanently in their prime. Like, it's just so insane.
And of course, I just want to see them on TV.
Of course.
But I really feel like they could fit well in AEW.
Oh, it would be great because, like, the tag team division in AEW is great. Like, if you're an AEW fan that's been watching it for a while, like, there's some teams there. I talk about it all the time. I love the Dark Order. Mm-hmm. They really need to be pushed in a better direction when we talk about directionless. They need a good direction. I don't know
how much more you can push them. They got beat by the Infantry.
Who, Dark Order? No, that was actually
Dark Order,
House of Black.
I'm getting my spoopy factions.
No, you push them too. I love them too, but they could use a really established veteran tag team like the Motor City Machine Guns. I think they would fit really well in AEW. I mean, we've seen them have matches. Obviously, they're great friends with the EVPs, the Young Bucks. So
Matthew and Nicholas Jackson.
Very possible over the next few weeks we could find out that they could be in a different promotion. Pretty crazy.
Right. I mean, yeah, I would love to see them. I mean, obviously in TNA they've been great. They've X Division champions,
yeah, I know,
World Heavyweight champions. I mean, their style is high flying, and I think they could fit really anywhere. I don't think if WWE would pick them up, I don't know if they would be.
They could have fun stuff for sure.
Well, but I feel like in NXT they'd be a great tag team. Just because that's still kind of the style they have in NXT.
Sure.
But I feel like the only place that they could really fit really well and even finish off their careers maybe because they are getting a little up there in age.
Too. They're obviously older, but in the sense that they could finish their careers the way that they want to. They're obviously, if they go to
Flying
AEW,
through ropes.
Yeah, but they're in charge of their story. They're in charge of their characters, so they can end it the way that they want to.
Creative freedom, which is always
creative
a nice
freedom,
thing.
But like a passing of the torch moment, kind of like Adam Copeland has been doing, like Bryan Danielson has been doing lately, where you can go in and you can have a match with Top Flight. Could you imagine Motor City Machine Guns versus Top Flight?
It'd be great.
You know, we're talking about House
Party.
of Black, like Malachi Black and Brody versus Motor City Machine Guns.
Right.
Like there's so much potential of like so many matches that have just never happened before that you could have.
Mm-hmm.
The Infantry, you know, like there's so many things that
the Infantry's
that could
good.
happen.
I know. I kind of shit on them a little bit earlier, but honest to God, they are really a talented duo.
Yeah, separately and together.
Oh, yeah.
And with Trish Adora. I love Trish Adora.
Yeah.
There's so much there. So, you know, obviously we're a little bit biased, but fingers crossed we're going to be coming in that direction with Motor City and AEW.
I would love to see it.
Yeah, me too. And actually, speaking of the Infantry, they have a match in the tournament quarterfinals up against FTR.
Yes, another tag team tournament.
I know. They're both going on at the same time.
How the hell did AEW and WWE not like get on the horn about this? Like, are you guys doing a tag turn? You guys are doing one too? All right, so your ends in March. All right, we'll do. Oh, yeah, we got it. Don't worry about it. So now it's been confusing as hell with the tag team divisions. We also have on Dynamite, we will have another tournament quarterfinal match between the Young Bucks and Private Party, as well as Swerve Strickland will be taking on Konosuke Takeshita, and Katsuyori Shibata will be taking on Will Ospreay.
This is real life, guys.
It's
Friends,
gonna be a real good match.
This is real life. We're just going to be getting these crazy ass matches. I can't even believe this is happening. Unbelievable.
Raw's also got a bunch of singles matches. I have no idea why they're happening. SmackDown, like we said, they've got a couple of the tag matches for the 6-pack qualifier.
Candice LeRae has a match on Raw, and I just hope that she goes absolutely heel on Ivy Nile.
Oh yeah, and that was one I don't understand because I thought they were allies like 2 weeks ago, and now they're not.
Yeah, no, I think she's probably upset because she's hurting Indy. You know, we probably missed something along that line.
That's a
some girl stuff.
That's rational thinking.
That's some girl stuff.
Hey, you pissed me off 2 weeks ago, so a week from now I'm going to beat you up on TV.
Yeah, you got to wait. You always have to wait.
Of course, you got to wait for. I remember in school we used to schedule. Like during the pay-per-views, like, oh no, Jimmy and Jerry, no, they're going to fight at the pay-per-view because everybody wants to see that.
Exactly. You can't do it right now.
You know, tomorrow or next Monday, then Jimmy's going to fight Jack. Everybody had J names in my school.
You have to wait. You have to wait.
Yeah. And also, Paul, he's just gonna yell a bunch about Steve and what he said last week.
They're gonna go nose to nose, but they can't touch each other. Otherwise, the fight that they were gonna have next week, they can't do it.
It's off.
It's off.
They can't go to recess this week.
Makes so much sense. All right, friends. Thank you so much for listening to the entire episode. If you made it this far, we appreciate you so much. If you haven't already followed us...
Even if you haven't listened to this far, we thank you so much.
Yeah, even though you don't know it. Thank you so much.
How have you heard what I just said if you haven't listened this far?
Yeah, see... It's just like the movie theaters. You're going to stay through the whole entire thing. You never know what's going to happen at the end of the movie. Yes, you do,
because you can just leave the movie theater and check social media. Everybody posts about it.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Fucking Spider-Man
Speaking of social media,
a goblin butt plug up his ass.
If you haven't followed us already on X, we are at CAW Wrestling Pod across all social media platforms.
All of them, even the ones we don't post on.
You can also follow me on X. I'm at A Bacon Party.
I am at Gunk Dudley. Make sure you start your week off right every Monday morning with a fresh episode of Coffee and Wrestling, a wrestling podcast posted every Monday, 4 a.m., so it is fresh, hot, and ready to go for when you're not really that bright and bushy in the morning. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you in the next episode.